Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Today we have WTA coach Carlos Martinez on. Carlos, welcome.
Hey Will, how are you? And
I'm
thank you for
good.
having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. We've been trying to set this up for a little while, and yeah, we chatted a little bit at the WTA finals, and I wanted to kind of lead with your experience down there. So um, obviously, coaching your wife, Nicole Melichar-Martinez, and
Mhm.
then her partner, Ellen Perez, who made a run to the finals, lost a very close match in that finals that was really just decided by a handful of points.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but to start the WTA finals, they lost their first 3 sets. So they lost their first match in straights to Storm Hunter and Elise Mertens,
Mhm.
and then they lost the first set against Ina Shibahara, Shuko Aoyama, and they're really 1 set away from elimination. And
Yeah.
then they make this run to the finals after that. What were you telling yourself at that point after that first set against Shibahara and Aoyama?
No, definitely. I think since the beginning of the tournament, we were the last team to qualify. The year didn't go maybe as great as we wanted it. We had definitely a lot of opportunities that maybe we didn't take. But since the beginning of the tournament, even from the first match, we knew it was gonna be challenging. We knew that all the teams that are there, the Anna and Shuko had a great beginning of the year. Also, they're always everybody around there. It could be dangerous couple if they're on. So since the beginning, we said, you know what, let's try to focus on us. Let's try to focus on how can we execute, how can we keep the head in the game, how can we stay in the game regardless of what the situation. Like if we're losing, then we need to stay cool. Always trying to be self-evaluating, trying to assess the situation in the present, not so much on what happened. Like the idea from the beginning again was let's take some risk, let's try to be aggressive. We want to play. Generally, we've been constructing and building to play an aggressive game.
Mhm.
So I told them, look, I know it's the finals, important tournament, a lot of points, a lot of money involved, but let's treat it like a training session. We have the best teams to practice. We have like the opportunity to play several matches. We I'm not expecting anything. I'm not expecting to win. I'm not expecting to go ahead and like capitalize every opportunity we have. But what I'm expecting is the risk taking. I'm expecting you guys to perform well, to stay on the match, to give your full effort, to stay focused and concentrated on every single point, regardless of what's going on. And I think that mindset was what helped. Like we didn't get to panic. We lost the first match. Yes, I mean, Elise and Storm played good. They were solid. We were getting into it a little bit. I mean, we had also chances and opportunities to maybe win that match, but obviously some consistency and certain points here and there go away. But what I was happy was the performance. Again, what I told you is like, look, even though it didn't go our way, we were able to execute at least the things that we wanted, at least to feel free to take risk. And we didn't get rewarded this time, but let's keep that mindset. And in that second match, when we lost the first set, it was a little bit again like few points here and there that didn't go our way. And to me, it didn't mean anything because it's not that we were not doing the right things. For me, it was like, look, you know what? You guys are trying, you're going for it. If it doesn't go our way, it doesn't go our way. But let's not back up. We stay committed. And I think that commitment was the one that helped to go through that match and then get back into it and build that confidence. Again, girls didn't panic. At any point, neither of us thought about like, what, we were set away to be out. We were just like, you know what, let's continue, let's stick to your plan, let's stay committed. And
Mhm.
that was, I think, for me, the key to win that match, to get it back and win, and to continue the run.
Mhm. Yeah, it sounds like what you're saying is, or at least what I'm hearing is like really focusing on the process and trusting the game plan rather than worrying about outcomes. So
Yeah, yeah,
you said you lost the first match, but we executed the game plan, we stayed aggressive, it just didn't go our way. That's
exactly.
okay as long as we're focused on trusting our process and sticking with that and staying in the moment. So I think, yeah, that's really good for a lot of listeners to just not think about the outcome. Don't worry about the win and loss, just trust your game plan. And if you're executing, let the kind of chips fall as they may.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, every tournament is different, and this one is a special one because thankfully you have the opportunity to play two more matches,
Mhm,
even if you lose the first one. Normally, you lose the first one and you're out of the tournament.
mhm,
So I think also it was key for us to understand to have that in mind clear. Like, look, even if the match doesn't go the way that we want, we still have opportunities. Every single time you have opportunities. And even on the other tournaments, I mean, that's kind of like one of the conclusions or learning experiences that we got out of that tournament. That there's gonna be tournaments that you're gonna lose first round. There's gonna be tournaments that maybe you go quarterfinals, semifinals. I mean, and there's gonna be tournaments that again, like you're gonna finals or you're gonna win it, and that's part of the process. Again, as you were mentioning, it's just the way that the tour works. Like you cannot expect to win every single week because otherwise you're gonna be frustrated every single week.
mhm,
Uh, for us, it's been a little bit as a team together with the girls. It's been a little bit of a challenge. Some of the finals we played six finals, and like last year also we had six finals, and then we won one, and then this year again another four finals, and we couldn't win one. I mean, it gets a little bit into your head because then you get to the finals like, please, let's win the tournament, because a loss is a
mhm.
loss, whether it is first round or finals. I mean, obviously you rather lose in the finals than first round,
Yeah.
but it's still like when you're so close. But at the same time, I tell them, it's like, look, we lost another final, but that doesn't mean anything. It's like you guys cannot have in their mind, it's like, oh, we're not, this is a final that we have to win, like we have to prove
Mhm,
ourselves in the finals. We have a negative record in finals, which we are aware of it, and it's not a secret, it's nothing to worry about, because you're still getting good results. Final is a final. But when you start thinking too much about those things, when you again, when it goes back a little bit to that mindset of what I was telling you, when you start focusing too much on the result or the outcome, you forget what makes you have that outcome. Like you stay, and then you put an extra pressure that you don't need. It's an extra pressure that interferes your performance, and the idea is to be able to have the mind as clear as possible.
mhm. Are there any like tips you like to give people or routines that you like your players to use to not focus on the outcome too much, especially in pressure matches like finals or if you're in a 10-point tiebreaker? I know a lot of people talk about breathing or focusing on your feet or have certain routines that they just go through at the baseline. Anything like that?
Yes, definitely. I think there's, as you mentioned, there are several ways that you can deal with it, and you just have to find maybe what works best for you.
Hmm.
As an individual, that's why it's important to also know the player or know the process or understand like the feelings and emotions that are going through the mind of a player. For me, again, it's important. It's a lot easier said than done, but I think if you train your brain actively to treat every point the same, regardless of break point or tie break or match point or whatever, if you just focus on your performance, on the ability to execute your game, it'll help you overall uh, to stay more consistent on the matches, regardless of the situation. So it's a long process, I guess. I mean, because what happens is that it's every time that we're in that situation, it's impossible not to recognize or feel the emotions. You're gonna get nervous, and it doesn't happen to just you. It happens to every single tennis player. But the reaction to it is like, okay, now that I'm nervous or now that I feel a little bit of pressure or stress, what am I gonna do? Like, how am I gonna react? What is gonna help me to calm down? Because if you understand the physiological process of your body when you're in these situations, then maybe you can understand better how to react to it. So moving your feet, bringing blood flow up to your extremities, legs and arms, So one of the first things that I tell them is always stay very active, stay very um, like moving, bring that heart rate not higher because when you're nervous, it's already high, but
Mhm.
make the blood flow everywhere in the
Mhm.
body, not
Mhm.
just because it normally centers into you when you're nervous or stressed or in pressure. The blood flow centers to this is a natural body reaction that like
Mhm.
you're under a stress situation, so the body responds differently. But now that you know these physiological reasons, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna stay still? Are you not gonna go and maybe take a breath and calm down? So yeah, like we have that one. I normally tell them to stay active, to move a little bit. If maybe the match is intense and they're really active and then they're doing a good job on it, maybe I tell them to take a little breath again, like go to the towel, reset, deep 2 breaths, maybe a stomach, like breathe with the stomach, they call it, like where you make it a little bigger and then smaller because
Mhm.
the nerves normally center in your gut. Um, uh, we also have cues. Maybe they look at me and I just tell them things to do to execute. So, if,
Mhm.
for example, they're very nervous in a certain way, I just tell them, look, okay, return line,
Mhm.
or serve and volley, something
Mhm.
that they don't have to think so much. They can take the risk, and then if they lose it, they can blame it on me. Because
Yeah.
sometimes that takes a little bit of responsibility from you as a player. Because in doubles, I feel it's a little higher when you lose a point. You not only disappoint yourself, but also disappoint your partner.
Mm.
And that's another thing that we've worked on. It's like, look, if you make a mistake, it's normal. You're not disappointing anyone. And sometimes, like we tend to take it a little harder because I'm making my partner lose.
Mhm.
But that's not how you need to think. You need to get rid of that thought. You need to be like, you know what, I'm trying. I'm not losing on purpose. I have to do it the best I can. And then sometimes when I take responsibility or when I tell them what to do or execute, it takes pressure off them. And if for whatever reason doesn't go, the easiest thing is blame the coach and move on. Like
Yeah.
it definitely helps with pressure. So yeah, we have those maybe three cues that
Yeah.
we use a lot.
Interesting. I like that a lot, trying to just tell them to go line or take like a risk, and they can focus on just executing that, and then you can kind of take a little bit of the responsibility yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that way they don't have to think about it as much. But one thing I want to get back to that you mentioned that I really want to highlight is uh, everybody gets nervous. And this is something that I feel like a lot of players listening are club level doubles players, right? And they're not professionals on TV or anything like that. But a lot of them think that Nadal never gets nervous, and that's why he's so good, or Djokovic never gets nervous, or Serena never gets nervous, but they all get nervous. But the way you described that was really good. It's like, okay, I'm nervous. Here's how I typically react when I'm nervous. How am I going to handle this? And I think that's a really personal question that everyone has to kind of
Hmm.
figure out for themselves, like you talked about. But getting rid of the nerves is not the solution because that's never going to happen.
It's not gonna happen.
Everybody's always nervous. So the thing is you have to figure out what your routines are and how you handle that.
Hmm.
Um so I want to get back to coaching in a bit, but first I want to hear a little bit about your tennis story. How did you get started in tennis to kind of where you are now coaching on the WTA tour?
So tennis has been running in my family for generations. My grandpa was a tennis coach. My dad was a tennis coach from my dad's family. My uncles, my aunts, they all played tennis, and my uncles are all tennis coaches in Bogota. That's where I'm originally from. So
Hmm.
growing up, I mean, I watched my dad playing. Also, he played professional national level. He did play some qualifiers of challengers and all that back in the day. Satellites they used to call them, but
Yeah.
so I grew up watching him, and then obviously you get into the sport uh, because you're around it. It's your environment. So started playing, yeah, early age, competed nationally, South America, also like the South American Tour de COSAD, few ITFs, few futures. I started playing some futures when I was 16, 17. And then I decided to go to college in the US, obviously for economical reasons also. Tennis is expensive. It's, like if you want to take it to the next level, you have to have either support to be able to travel and compete. And especially
Hmm.
in South America, is I think that's one of the biggest issues in South America is that it's hard to get out. It's hard to travel to places where you can find regular and high competition. Players that do get to compete a lot and all that, we have a very fighter mentality. You see it in Argentinians and Chileans, and
Hmm.
but yeah, but it's hard. So made the decision to go to college, take advantage of the level that I had then to get into a good college. I got to go to Western Michigan University, then transferred to Jackson State University where I graduated. And then while I was in college in the summers, and I played the first 2 years. I played for a club in Germany also, club tennis, which is a great opportunity. I mean, I think a lot of more players, especially maybe. I mean, now the rules are a little tougher for international players, but I still think that there is opportunity for South American players, or I mean, American, all the players to be able to go and compete, whether it is club level or open level. They have tournaments every weekend. The competition in Germany, France, in Europe, it's very consistent and frequent, and it's affordable also because it's everything is very close. So I think for players in development, it's important to find a way to get to compete in Europe because there's a lot of levels. You learn a lot. It's a growth experience, and I think is makes a difference. That's why Europeans normally dominate. But anyway, yeah, I finished college, and then after college, I had a master's degree. I did my master's degree in computer science, data analytics. I was trying to deviate a little bit from tennis. I was trying to get away just to try
Hmm.
something different. But no, tennis always found a way to get me back. I was
Yeah.
always involved with high performance juniors. I liked it. I liked it a lot, especially players that try, to put effort. Then I had an opportunity to run an academy and a club in New Jersey, and that's when I escalated my coaching skills to maybe more higher ITF level juniors, with few pros, in development, coming, helping, developing pre-seasons. And then I got to meet Nikki and Nicole, my wife now, and I got involved with her. I started helping her a little bit, and then after she finished with her last coach, she asked me if I was able to help her. I was also working with other juniors. I had a junior that did very well in the tour in the ITF. Now he's in Stanford playing for the university. He's still doing very good. And a month ago, got to the finals of a 25K. He's a high level player,
Hmm.
and she got to also trust my coaching, like the way that I was dealing with the things, the way that I was building the players, the advice. And she asked me to help her whenever the last coach finished. And it was a little bit of a challenge, of course, because one thing is being husband and another thing is being coach.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of personal emotions again. Like, obviously you want your student to do well, but you also want your wife to do well. And there's a lot of emotions in tennis. And again, as I told you, sometimes you make some calls, and if it's your fault, it's your fault. But you can take it as a coach is different. But then coach and husband, then so
Mm.
I was a little hesitant about that. But no, we decided to give it a chance, and we tried, and it went well. And then with Ellen. we started a little bit, and then slowly she also got into part of the training, part of the team, and also starting to trust a little bit more, like the advice and how everything was working. And obviously, it's easier to trust when maybe the results go along with it,
Hmm.
because then you can sort of prove that you're saying, you're just not lying, like that you're
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
something
it's
that makes
working.
sense.
Hmm.
Exactly. So I think with that transition, it was good. It was smooth. It was successful, and that's how we got into the coaching in the tour. So now it's been already like 2 years, 2 years and a half.
Yeah, awesome.
Hmm.
So, I think I read somewhere that you majored in geology. Is that right?
My undergrad was in geology or earth system science. They had it in at that time, which it was mm, basically everything with geology, but they added hydrology and they added environmental science and they added a few more classes uh, to that
Okay.
undergrad major. But yeah, like at that point, my mom worked a little bit on the mineralogy field, so she was always,
Okay.
yeah. So my mom also played tennis, but she was doing some rock analysis for a petrology company.
Uh,
So because of that reason, I kind of like, I was like, you know what? Everybody studies business. Business is very useful, but I always believe that
right.
you can learn business on your own. There's so much information out there. So I was like,
Hmm.
I want to study something different. And I mean, now I don't use any of that. I mean, it was a waste of time, to be honest. Um, but yeah, geology.
That's funny. Yeah, I when I saw that, I was like, I don't think I've ever known anyone who studied geology in college, so I had to ask.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I was trying to go into the gas and oil industry here in I mean, in the US, but
yeah, yeah, it's big,
yeah.
especially here in Texas where I am.
Mhm.
Um, so I want to talk about the off season. So the WTA finals ended about a month ago. Um, y'all finished second in the tournament. What happens after that?
So normally, I mean, the season was very long this year.
Hmm.
Obviously, for like Ellen, it didn't finish right there. She had to
Yeah,
go
that's true.
and then continue playing Fed Cup and Billie Jean Cup and all that, which, I mean, Australia had a good run. But yeah, so for her, it went a little longer. For Nikki and myself, we finished after Cancun. So yeah, you take a couple of weeks off. You let the body recover.
Hmm.
Because
Did y'all
again,
just
like,
spend time at home in Florida?
yeah. Like, we
Okay.
took a little break. Like, relax for a little bit. And yeah, like, normally you do different activities. If you want to go for vacations, that's the time to go. You see it with all the pro players. Some going to the Maldives, some going to the
Yeah.
Caribbean. So
Yeah.
and they go all over the place. But yeah, and take 2 to 3 weeks off. I mean, you don't want to do completely and like nothing. Just, like, you do slow down for a week. Maybe you just don't do anything. The second week, normally we start. I mean, for example, Nicole, she likes to do Pilates, and she's very active generally. So it's not that she's always completely off fitness or exercise. So yeah, 3 days a week she does Pilates, and then the third week we add yoga. Also, I like yoga a lot, so we do maybe 3 days Pilates and 2 days yoga, and we stay active. And then the fourth week, now again, you start thinking on, we program, we set all the training for the preseason, evaluate what happened during the season, areas of improvement, like in fitness, mental, and we create a program to start. So now, after 3 weeks off, then you start the preseason. When she and Nikki started last week, so as Ellen. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, like now we slowly get into the heavy load of the preseason,
Yeah.
which normally is for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, depending on how you want it or what things you need to work on.
Hmm.
But yeah.
So what does that process look like for creating that 4 to 5 week plan? Are you like mapping out every single day of that 4 to 5 weeks, saying like you're gonna do
Yes.
Okay. So what does that look like for either Nikki or Ellen? And you don't have to
So
get
so
into
normally,
specifics on like strengths or
right.
weaknesses, but
So for example, with Nikki, we again evaluate some of the mm, maybe highlights of the matches that
mhm,
we felt that we could have done better, or that we felt that we lagged a little behind, and then we start finding tendencies.
mhm,
Where are the players? How are the players beating us? Or like the opponents, like what are they
mhm,
looking? What are our weaknesses? And also our strengths. How are we beating the others? And then based on that, let's say the first week, I tend to work a little bit more into technical and cleaning. So what I like to do in the first week or two, it's a lot of repetitions, a lot of feeding drills,
mhm,
where you can clean anything, like if you have some technical fallacies, or if you need to clean certain shots, or like maybe, let's say for example, a volley, backhand volley, maybe the swing is a little too big, and then
mhm,
we're going behind the head a little bit more than what we wanted to. So we correct it. We really pay attention to those minimal little things, and we do a lot of repetitions.
mhm.
For Ellen, the same thing. Ellen, I think she also has another commitment for like a tournament, or like a exhibition tournament in India.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I saw that.
with her, I couldn't map out day by day what she needed to do, because obviously she has this exhibition tournament. So what I did, and she's working in Australia. She's working with Sam Stosur and Nicole Pratt, because obviously she's in Australia and we're in the US. So what I do is I create a list of my observations and things that I think that she needs to improve or work on, and then I led her coaches there that are helping her to more or less schedule it based on what she needs to do, or her exhibition tournament, and I don't adjust it. But at least we are in the same page as far as, okay, we need to work on this, we need to do this, we need to do this specifically. So what I do, break it down also, like technically, whenever you have time, or however your coach is there, I schedule it. I need you to work this week and this and this and this specifically, and it's more tedious, it's more repetition, it's more hand fed or bracket, like it's more repetition, again, drilling.
Mhm,
And then as you get more clean or more comfortable in those areas, and you feel that, yeah, like you're dominating it, or you're assessing the situation, the problem, then you move on to a little bit more of a life situation. Then we start getting into more consistency, or under pressure situations, or like, again, movement, little things like that. And then we progress into point play. So towards the end of a preseason, we start finding players or teams also that need to practice points as well. And then we get into the competitive side of it, where we apply everything that we did in the past weeks, and make sure that yeah, that we assessed it, and it's working. And if not, then you take a little bit of that competition off and go over it again.
mhm. Okay.
Mm.
So for the example, let's say with the backhand volley, when you're adjusting the technique and going through lots of feeding drills, does that look like, we're gonna hit 200 backhand volleys today? Or do you have like a number in mind? Or is it like
Yes.
we're
So
gonna
so
work on this for an
normally,
hour?
yes, exactly. Normally, it also depends on the load of the training, because we're normally in the preseason, you also build physically.
Mhm,
So there is different, also you map out that with the fitness coach, where, for example, next week for Nikki is gonna be higher volume on fitness, or it's gonna be a little bit more charge. She's gonna get a little bit more into strength. So if her muscles are tired, or if her body is tired, and then we go on the court and spend 2 hours doing certain things, then sometimes it backfires, because then the muscles are not responding the way that you want it. So
mhm,
based on that volume, I adjust the charge, also the volume of the fitting. Normally, again, in certain matches, depending obviously on the match and the length also, you don't hit more than 50 or 80 volleys per match,
mm,
like. So then we combine the whole training, where there is a warm up, there is certain exercises for feel or for depth and this and that, and then we narrow it down to the specific where we do 150 volleys here or like 120 volleys. But it
Mhm.
depends again on the load of the fitness and also on the load of the body, how it's feeling.
Right. Because if your body starts getting tired and you're working on technique, you're gonna start to have technical flaws just because you're tired. The muscles can't handle it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes
Exactly.
perfect sense. Um, okay, a couple more questions and then I will let you go. So, if I were to ask Nikki your biggest strength as a coach, what do you think she would say?
I think she would say more like in the mental area and the mental side. Obviously, technical and tactical, we do a lot of. I mean, I like to work on those things as a team. I don't like to impose my way of thinking because for me, one of the philosophies that I have is I will help you, I will guide you through, but I also need you to understand what you're doing because it's not always what I say to do. Like you also have a voice. You're the one that have to execute at the end of the day.
Hmm.
So in those scenarios, I always like team feedback. Like we always build it together. I give my thoughts. Nikki gives her thoughts. Helen gives her thoughts, and then we put it together. And then here, this is the result, and this is what we're gonna do. So I think for the most part, and something that I try to be very tedious with is the mental. Like again, not getting frustrated, like staying motivated, staying confident, trust yourself, like on all those things. So I think if you ask her that, I think she'll say, yeah, like keeping her in a
Hmm.
good mindset.
How do you handle coaching multiple players? So we talked a little bit about off air. You're in Spain right now working with Karolina Pliskova. Obviously,
Correct.
you've got Nikki and Ellen as well, who are on opposite sides of the globe right now. How do you handle that, not only in the off season, but during the regular season? Because I know, that's not uncommon for, especially for coaches on the doubles side, to have to find other players to coach because the prize money just isn't always there to
Mhm.
support a doubles coach for every single team.
Well, now with them, I mean, last year we had the opportunity to have that experience, like where I was working with them and as well helping Carolina. We started more or less in the US Open. Um, it's sometimes uh, hard to manage the timing because of the scheduling.
Hmm.
Thankfully, one is singles and the other ones are doubles, so that
Hmm.
helps. Because then the schedule is different. Again, singles normally starts Monday, and then doubles normally Wednesdays or Tuesdays, so they have a day in between.
Hmm.
In terms of practices, same thing. I mean, normally singles players get a little bit of a better window for their practice, so you get to choose better times. And normally doubles players get a little bit more in the afternoon or early morning. Those players normally have to accommodate a little bit more around the singles schedule. So for that reason, it has worked a little bit. But something that I'm very careful with is not taking any attention of either of them, because for me it's important to also give a quality of my job. And if
Hmm.
I cannot manage the timing correctly, then obviously that quality is gonna decrease. So I mean, communication key. All of them know. Like again, like right now we're working a little bit on that preseason with Carolina. Ellen has her job there in Australia. Nikki also is doing her stuff in Florida right now. The timing, obviously, everything is distributed to to a sense that they all feel comfortable, that they all feel that they're getting what they need, and they all feel that they're not being taken advantage of, or like again that they're not getting the quality that they need. So communication is key. I mean, thankfully they're all really nice girls. Like then they're really I've been lucky to work with them because they also trust, and then they're open to talk, they're open to make things work. So it's not that one is like, oh, Carlos, really, you're gonna make me wake up 1 hour earlier? No. And then yeah, they're all very flexible. They're being really helpful in that sense. But obviously sometimes singles players require a little bit more attention as well, because the matches are longer, recovery is longer, preparation, takes time. Doubles player also is the same. It's just like singles matches are longer too, so sometimes if you have a schedule of singles and then right after the doubles, if the singles go longer, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So no, we try to. I mean, I try to talk to tournament directors to see if they can schedule like a good windows, so I can last
Hmm.
year that I could work it out in order for me to be in both matches, be in both warm ups. Um, so yeah, like it's a little bit of a logistics uh problem solving, but then
Hmm.
once you kind of like, again, if you have flexible players and then everybody's willing to work, then it's much easier.
Sure. So you talked about being a strong mental coach. Do you have any favorite drills or games for doubles that people can use to help improve their mental strength and create kind of in-match pressure? I was talking to a coach, a college coach about this the other day with serving, and we were talking about, it's hard to simulate in practice the pressure you feel on especially on a second serve on a big point, right? Like a lot of club players listening probably double fault sometimes when it's 5-4 in the tiebreaker or something like that. Do you have any favorite drills or ways to kind of simulate pressure and work on mental strength in practice?
No, for sure. I mean, I think you can always try to trigger certain emotions.
Mhm.
In my opinion, it's impossible. I think what you feel in the match, you only feel in the match.
Mm.
Because practice, everybody knows is practice. Everybody knows that you can, like the consequences are less. But in terms of drills, I like to put pressure on the serve. Let's say I make them play 5 points in a row with only one serve, and then if you lose, let's say if you lose the game, or if you make unforced errors, then it counts more, or you give them a punishment, like a little punishment at the end, whether push-ups or
Mm.
Caesar jumps and like little things like that, where you put a little bit of something in, that way it costs something, definitely put, I think by putting these little things in your head, again, play high pressure situations again, or play a set where you only serve from 30 all, and
Mm.
like, and then if you lose the set, then your opponents do butts up, or
Yeah.
like, again, put always something. I think some players don't like to do it. I mean, obviously be careful with what you do. I'm not saying go ahead and get killed, but
Sure.
guys do it more, but we
Yeah.
think less sometimes. But yeah, but put always put something on play, something of value, something of, especially for example, if you don't like, let's say, suicides.
Mhm.
If you lose, you have to run two suicides,
Mhm.
because now you're putting double of the pressure, not much of the pressure, but then now you have to do something that you don't like. So
Yeah.
then you're already dealing with a negative thought of, not this, and then you're gonna have to serve, and then like, that train of thoughts might guide you to either be more careful, and so you don't get what you don't want, and then maybe you can take a little bit more risk, because the idea is to trigger that, like the idea is to be able to play free even in a situation that is not comfortable. So if
Mhm.
you put yourself, if you set something that is uncomfortable already, and then you try to put certain games, I mean, there's so many games that you can do. Again, like, you can play tie breaks to 5, you can play, short ones, or again, or long one to 10, but it start from 6 all, so it's
Mhm.
already, well, point counts a lot. But then always, besides those extra pressure situations, put something that is uncomfortable for you, so then that way it gets a little bit more of a value. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, those little things, drills, can help you, but generally, yeah, then when the match comes, it's commitment, and you're not gonna feel the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no substitute for match pressure, but,
Hmm.
yeah, it sounds like maybe having something you put on the line in practice or some kinda consequence,
Yeah,
can
yeah.
can at least get part of the way to that match pressure. It won't
Yeah, yeah, and it
obviously
makes it
simulate it
competitive as
exactly.
well. Like if you're playing
Mhm.
again against friends or somebody else in practice, you don't want to lose. There's a little bit of pride, but then not only just losing, but losing and having to do something you don't want to
Right.
definitely adds. Yeah,
Yeah. I've heard for some club players, this probably isn't a good one for for pros, especially during a tournament, but for some club players, like, if they go out for beers after, it's like whoever loses has to buy the beers.
the first
So that
round or
that
the whole round. Yeah,
yeah, that could be something as well,
no,
people
for
could
sure.
try.
No, and
Um,
definitely like that's for club players. I think that's a great one because again, it's social, it's fun, but at the
yeah,
same time, you're gonna create this competitive environment where
yeah,
like if you lose, you have to pay, and then
yeah,
therefore when you get in the matches, it can be very similar.
yeah, yeah, I mean, that's gonna force you for sure to really focus, which is what you wanna be doing in practice.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So talk about 2024. Any plans or kind of goals you have for next season?
No, definitely. So with the girls, with Nikki and Ellen, we we want to get back to top 10. We really, I think they have all the ability, they have everything that they need to get it. As I said, I think in the last tournament, it was good that they got to play the finals. Also helped to realize how comfortable they can play when there's no expectations, when we just focus on the process, not on the result. And it clicked. I think they understood it in a different way. I mean, we've been mentioning that for a long time, but sometimes uh, the process takes a little bit of time. Sometimes you can be saying the same words at the beginning of the year, but at the end of the year, for whatever reason, situation, it clicked differently, and it
Hmm.
makes you think differently. It makes you realize and learn. And I think that happened to us a little bit. It's just a little bit of release. Communication was good again. Like after the tournament, we got to sit down and opened up. It's important also to be able to trust your partner, to trust your coach, to be able to say what you need to say without being judged or without like having the having it in mind that maybe something's gonna go wrong. No, something that I try to implement a lot is that the open communication and emotional intelligence. And again, for next year, I see it very doable. Again, to reach the top 10, there's gonna be obviously strong couples, strong partnerships, as always.
Yeah.
But I do trust their ability, trust their like their mental now. And so top 10 is one, and definitely have the chance to go and win a Grand Slam. I truly think that they can achieve it if they put everything on it, if they put their mindset as we mentioned it in it. I see it very possible. So yeah, and obviously we have the goals. Always it's important to aim somewhere, but for me, more importantly is for them to be able to play consistently.
Awesome. So a few more rapid fire questions and then we'll hop off here. What is your favorite tennis book?
Tennis book. So I read this one. It's not quite tennis, but it's mental. It's called
Hmm.
Designing the Mind. I
Okay.
forgot the author right now, but yeah, Designing the Mind. It talks about how you can train the way that you think and how to react to negative thoughts, how to react to challenging situations. It tells you again naturally what your brain does, how to normally react. This is us. We're programmed pretty much the same way. Again, we all have different personalities, but under pressure situations, we are very similar.
Hmm.
So it gives different cues and it lays it out very clearly how to re-engineer your way of thinking, your train of thought.
Interesting.
So that one is worth the read, especially for tennis players, because I think at that level, professional level and club level, I mean any level, you're always dealing with your inner self. A lot of the times is you against you, and you're the one that is stopping yourself for certain executions or certain commitments. So how to restructure the thoughts is a very important skill to have.
Hmm. Designing the mind. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look it up and include it in the show notes for the listeners. What is your favorite tournament?
Tournament. And well, ah, actually, we had the discussion with Nikki and with the girls also. I mean, obviously, all the Grand Slams are very special. Um, and then some of the 1000s are great as well. But for me, it's if I would have to pick, I'll pick maybe US Open. New York is, I like the city. I have many friends there. The environment,
Hmm.
like the atmosphere is great.
Hmm.
And they all have again their touch. But for me, all the tournaments are good. I mean, they're all tournaments. We see the same girls, the same players consistently over and over, and I think obviously there are tournaments that have these traditions and money, so they make them more welcoming and more comfortable. But everybody's trying to do a good effort. So yeah, like if I have to pick up the big ones, probably US Open but yeah, generally for me all the tournaments have to win them.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Do you know where this picture's from behind me?
No, I cannot really see. Wait,
I can give
yeah,
you a hint.
and
I
that's
can,
Nikki in the back. Yeah. Wait, no,
yeah.
no. I
That's Nikki. There's Ellen. Oh, Ellen's here behind me. You didn't attend
hmm,
this one.
Austin.
Yeah, it's Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not just because you said that I didn't go
Yeah.
because
You
that was
didn't
the
go to
only
that
one
one.
I didn't go.
Yeah, it was only a 3 hour drive for me, so I drove down
Ah,
and they were
yeah. I remember.
practicing in
Nikki
this.
told me.
I actually didn't even get to see them play because they didn't play till like Thursday night, but
Yeah, they
they were
played late.
practicing here. So last question for you: how do we make doubles more popular?
I think marketing. I think also. I mean, the doubles girls normally tend to do a good job in trying to post, engage the the fans. Ellen does a very good job sometimes, like raffling tickets on Twitter or like on Instagram. She tries to
Hmm.
really have good engagement. But yeah, no, I think we need a little bit more exposure in media, in the like again regular media, not only online. A lot of people complain always that they cannot watch the matches because they have to be subscribed to ESPN Plus or Tennis Channel Plus because
Hmm.
there's the only platforms that really show it, and you have to like you have to search for it instead of like people actually showing it to you. So definitely exposure. Um, yeah, I think marketing exposure is the key for it. A little bit more
Yeah,
of prime time.
yeah. No, I totally agree. Um, awesome, Carlos. Any final requests of the audience or final comments before you hop off here?
No, I mean, again, always try your best. Again, don't be too judgmental or too hard on yourself. I think a lot of people tend to go really, really hard on themselves, and that creates extra pressure and that doesn't let you think clear. So, overall advice is enjoy it, have fun, like really, really enjoy it, truly. Have fun, enjoy the competition. Competition is amazing when you do it healthy.
Hmm.
And control your emotions, especially the negative ones. Try to find ways to be able to be more emotionally intelligent.
Yeah, I love it. Don't be too hard on yourself. That's one that a lot of people can follow, and I really like that
Mm.
a lot. Awesome. Well, Carlos, thanks so much for hopping on.
Thank you, Will. That was great.
If you want to become a smarter doubles player and start winning more matches, then join the Tennis Tribe Doubles Strategy newsletter. Every single Thursday, I'll send you a new doubles tip or tactic that you can use in your very next match. And when you join, you're going to get a free guide on how to play with more confidence and start dominating at the net in doubles. My name's Will. I'm the founder of the Tennis Tribe, and over the last 5 years, I've worked with players at every level of the game, from USTA 3.0 players all the way to Division I college programs, as well as some of the top 10 doubles players in the world. And on Thursdays, with this strategy newsletter, I share that knowledge and advice that I've gained over the years with you. So to sign up, you can go to thetennistribe.com. And again, you'll get that free net play guide when you join.